Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome to this week's episode of Tech Talk. I'm your host, Omar Shear. And if you were with us last week, we had a very special guest, Mr. Omar Du Bois, our brother in Islam. And we talked about the music industry. I know you're wondering, why would we talk about the music industry on Tech Talk? Well, the music industry at one time was you would purchase your CDs and audio cassettes and everything in the local stores, the mom and pop stores and the big stores in the mall. And now in 2000, since 2006 or something like this, those stores have completely closed down. You can find very few of those stores, which is a good thing. But there is a connection between this and the internet, because the internet is the reason why these shops are closed down and people pirating and sharing music and things like this. So how does that relate to an Islamic show on Huda TV? Well, you need to know one thing, that maybe your sons or daughters, your family members are on the internet downloading these things free of charge. And maybe there's an alternative to these things that they should be aware of and that you should guide them to. So the internet has become a powerful means of communication where you can get audios and videos and all different type of thing right at the push of a button. So in this week's show, we want to talk about the nasheed industry. Now, there are some issues within the nasheed industry as well, but nasheeds tend to be Islamically themed. But we want to talk to our brother Omar today about the nasheed industry and his experience in it and his solution to it, or his contribution to it. So without further ado, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah.
Good. Tell us about your transition from the music industry into the nasheed industry. Like, did you go right from one to the other, or did you think about it and then move to it? What happened?
The first, after I embraced Islam, I didn't know what, after some time, maybe I think I was Muslim for maybe about a year and a half, 2 years, before I even started to discover what nasheed was.
Oh, okay.
And I ended up going to London with some brothers, and that was the first actual event I did. And it was very interesting, because even though there were some evils involved there, I felt like it was like a type of wonderland compared to where I was coming from, the music industry, where you have people doing drugs and alcohol is involved, and these things were involved, and a lot of free mixing. I saw differences. It was more innocent.
Okay.
And this is what I want to say. But still later I saw things, once my understanding of Islam became stronger, I started to see things that I didn't agree with.
Well, let me ask you something specifically. You embraced Islam, and then you said it took you a few years to come in contact with this nasheed issue. So who suggested to you that you should start to make nasheeds?
Actually, a brother of mine, he suggested to me that I should think about doing nasheeds, doing this Islamic songs.
Okay.
And I said maybe that's a good idea. He said maybe you can utilize your voice to make people reflect about Islam, reflect on Islam.
So from that point, you went right into the studio?
From that point, he introduced me to Native Dean's manager at the time, a good friend of mine, David. He was their manager at the time.
Okay.
And from there, he's the one that got me to go to London with them and to do some things with them in London.
So you already had some things prepared, or?
I didn't actually have, at the time, I maybe had a few songs that I had written at the time, but not really aware of the industry side of things. That whole industry side of things, I was unaware of it.
So there is an industry with the...
There's an industry now.
Tell us about that.
what we find in the nasheed industry, what's going on now is I see it going into the direction of mainstream music, and I think it's something very dangerous that we see going on now. It's very dangerous because now people are turning this into a whole new like pop type culture kind of thing. People are listening many times. People are preferring nasheeds over the Quran. And this is another issue. There's the same issue we dealt with with the music.
Yeah.
And this is something I don't want to dive into and allow. And I pray to Allah that Allah protects me from that, protects the people from being attracted to what even I'm doing over the Quran. Rather, I wish to invite the people. Maybe a person is not reading the Quran, and maybe my advice from the song will make him want to read the Quran.
Right.
And this is what I want to do.
So you're using it as an encouragement.
As an encouragement, as an invitation, as something that will make the person reflect on what's going on in their lives. Right. You know, for instance, I have songs on death, songs on shyness, as we talked about, songs called Quran and Sunnah. Well, read your Quran. These type of things. Right. Real issues like we talked about. One thing I notice about even what's happening with the nasheeds, maybe people aren't talking about anything. Maybe they'll mention Allah and His Messenger once or twice, but does that really make the song, the whole of the song, good?
Right.
Because we mention Allah and His Messenger.
Right.
We have to invite the people to something, and it's becoming very dangerous. So much that I've seen sisters screaming in the crowd, brothers screaming in the crowd, and losing their haya. It's doing the opposite of something that maybe people intended in the beginning. You know.
Well, you know, many people don't know your experience with other nasheed artists. So tell us about where you've traveled and what you've seen in different countries and how popular this thing actually is.
To give you an example, I went to Australia, and I think that was somewhat of the breaking point for me of getting away from that nasheed show kind of thing, because now everything is turned to a nasheed show, and for me, that doesn't strike the balance. Because what I've witnessed from nasheed shows, I've witnessed, as I've mentioned, sisters screaming in the crowd, you know, as if they want to, you know, a'udhu billah, rip the hijab off, you know, and the hijab itself, we know it comes with a responsibility. Right. You know, if you see a brother dressed in the thobe where he has a big beard, you're not going to expect him to be out there, yeah, you know. You're not going to expect these kind of things. But I've seen these kind of things. I've seen sisters behaving like this. And that's what pushed me away. I said, this is not, I said to myself, I said, this is something that can't be pleasing to Allah. It's impossible. Because I started to see the same things that I was seeing in the music industry. And in fact, when I had the opportunity to do a tour with Zayn Bika in certain places, and even him, this is an aspect that he himself dislikes. He was once doing a song called Orphan Child. And in the crowd, we saw people waving their hands, and, you know, there's nothing wrong with, I don't know, me personally, if there's something wrong with that in principle, but what they were doing is imitating what they saw non-Muslims doing when they were watching a pop concert. When you see a rock pop concert, you see people doing this, waving a towel, and these kind of things, you know?
So when you talk about a pop concert, now, I mean, in my mind, coming from the West, concerts are big stage, big lights, preparation. Yeah. And then when you talk about nasheeds, I'm thinking like some in the masjid basement or something like that.
Yeah, that's what you think about.
That's what I think, but I'm sure it may be something much bigger than that. Is that true?
It's much bigger than that.
So it's not the basement.
I mean, I saw Dr. Bilal Phillips talking about this last night. Allah bless him, because he mentioned the fact that, you know, now the intention may have been innocent in the beginning, may have been a good intention, But now you see people, nasheed artists, nasheed bands coming out with the smoke and the glitter. It's the same thing.
So it's like a concert that
It's an actual concert. It's an actual concert, and I think what we need to do, we need to bring it back to the balance, because you know, there's things that are halal and there's things that are haram. There's ways that we can bring it back to the middle ground, because as we as Muslims, we take that middle path. We don't say this is haram and just ban things. We take that middle path. I think one way we can bring it back is to cease with these whole nasheed shows, but rather bring it back to where we have the shiyukh, and we have a little bit of, maybe a person does a song, bring it back to that middle ground, so the people don't lose touch with that, because this is the type of events I only do now. I'm at the point now where I will basically refuse to do all nasheed show. Rather, I would do events where I know that some shiyukh will be there.
Right.
Because since I've done that, I have yet to see a person scream in the crowd yet.
No waving.
Alhamdulillah. And now that makes my heart feel, this is something Allah is pleased with. Because now the people, it's a different response. People are calm in the crowd because they know, they respect the shiyukh are there.
Right.
Even if these are younger, people of knowledge. And I encourage younger people of knowledge also doing events like this where there's a balance, because then you will encourage, inshallah, encourage the youth to want to be like you, want to be a person of knowledge.
With that being said, we're going to take a short break, inshallah ta'ala, and definitely stay tuned for the next section of Tech Talk, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome back to Tech Talk. I'm your host, Omar Shear, and we've been talking to our dear brother, Omar Du Bois, about the nasheed industry. And I had a few more questions for the brother before we start to talk about your project and how it relates to this whole subject. Now, many people have never been to a nasheed show. Actually, I didn't know it was called a nasheed show. And I'm not familiar with this phenomenon that's going on. But give us an idea of how many people come out to these things.
I'll give you an example. I mean, there can be literally thousands of people coming out to these events. Thousands.
And that's in which countries? That's in all countries?
That's in the UK, Australia, Malaysia. They have some in Indonesia.
Really?
Yeah. It's not as popular in South Africa yet.
Right.
People are pretty. They don't have that vibe. I haven't seen that vibe in South Africa.
Right.
But it's around. America. It's present, man.
So they can get a couple thousand people in America.
They can get a couple thousand people to come out there.
Wow.
Yeah, they can get 5,000, 10,000 people more. For one nasheed event.
So what we talked about.
If the people are well known, they're popular.
Okay. So we talked about people having a problem leaving music, leaving it alone, and then now we have people leaving the music, or some people leaving the music. Some people probably listen to both, but we don't know. But you have them leaving that music and coming to the nasheed, and then you're finding the same problems happening with the nasheeds now. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah, they're finding the same problem, but some of them don't realize it. Maybe some of them some people think there's nothing wrong with it. Maybe like myself when I first was coming from the music industry, and like when I went to the UK, my example with that, I felt was like innocent. Oh, this is much better than the music industry. Yeah. And then I actually heard people. I had conversations with brothers backstage telling me that they want to go more mainstream. And I was asking, I asked them, I said, what do you mean? by that, because you got to keep in mind, I'm coming from Def Jam.
Right.
I saw things that people would be shocked to see.
Right. Yeah.
You know, the things I saw going on, people would be shocked to see these things.
Right. Right.
So I'm saying to them, why do you want to, get away from this good and go to that? I didn't understand.
I mean, do you think they understand it?
I don't think they understand it.
Mm-hmm.
I think many people, and I remember a friend of mine mentioning this, and this was his opinion. His opinion was that many people were not able to make it to the music industry, so now they are making this their music industry. It was easier for them to make it in the nasheed industry.
Right.
So people have to understand, we're not pointing the finger at anyone.
Right.
But there are people, maybe you have to also think about the heart of the person you're listening to.
Right.
Because that is transferred from heart to heart.
Mm. Mm.
Even myself, I try to be very conscious of what I'm putting out there. I try to, even when I do a song, I try to, be in a state of wudu. Because I want to be conscious of what I send out there to the waves, because it's something that is something strong.
Right.
And what that person hears, they're going to want to act on it, whether it's good or bad.
So let's tie this in together, because we're on Tech Talk, and I'm sure there are people watching that are saying, why are they talking about nasheeds on Tech Talk? Well, the reason we're talking about nasheeds is because you have a project that's online, and where people can see what you're doing and listen to what you're doing. So tell us what's available, or what you plan to have available as far as the nasheeds are concerned.
What I plan to have available is it's going to be events, showing people what I'm doing, where I'll be doing events at. We're going to have on there downloads, free downloads for people in the beginning. Video footage, you can expect footage from seeing different footage of different shows that I'm working on, and maybe they'll be finished by that time, by the time that the people begin to view this. Different projects, giving the people a variety of things. It's basically a tunnel.
Right.
That the different projects that I'm working on, they can see this. They can see they can go into the nasheed area.
Right.
They can go into the different aspects they can go into.
Now, I remember us talking before, off camera. We talked about some ideas that you had before you even became Muslim that involved the internet. So what did you see in the internet at that time even? Like, why did you say, I need to take advantage of this internet thing? Well, what was it about it that made you...
It was interesting you mentioned that, because I actually had a conversation with the brother of Michael Jackson, Jackie Jackson. I asked him, at the time we were in the Apple store together, and I asked him, I said, if you were able to, if you had all of these things accessible, YouTube and MySpace, these things were available at the time. I said, if you had all of these things available to you, I was speaking to him being that he's from the Jackson 5. I said, if you guys had these things available to you at the time, would you guys have signed a record deal? He himself told me, he said, no, we would have never signed a record deal, And I said, and that sparked that idea at the time for me to start promoting myself through the internet. At the time, I had fans in Japan and in the UK, Australia, different parts of the world, and I had planned to do performances live and to just broadcast to the people. And alhamdulillah, Allah took me away from that. Alhamdulillah, Allah saved me.
So how are you using that knowledge now, the ideas that you had then, and apply them to what you're doing now? How are you doing that? Is there anything similar?
It's some things that are very similar. One thing is the fact that you have all these people available to you now. Now you're not limited. You're not limited to one particular country anymore.
Right.
So this is another thing that when the internet, the downloads and these things started to affect the people, because they can no longer track where things are coming from.
Right.
So you have the whole world is your audience now. The whole world, I can give dawah to the whole world now. So it's beautiful.
You know,
the intention is different.
excuse me.
Before I was spreading types of evil to the world. Now
Right.
I can give dawah. I
Right.
can speak to the people about Islam to the whole world now.
You know, many people don't know this, but I was involved in recording as well. Yeah. I don't want to talk about that, but I have noticed a difference in recording things then, like with reel to reels and ADATs and things like this, and recording things today. Now, I mean, what advice would you give someone that wants to maybe record lectures? Maybe not himself. Maybe he doesn't feel qualified to talk about the religion, but he goes to events or he goes here and he wants to take those audios and put them online. Do you have any advice on how to record things in a professional way? You know, I'm sure you've heard the ashy tapes and stuff that you can't barely listen to because it's so low and things like this. I mean, what type of advice would you give a person that wanted to do something like that?
I would say that for this person, a podcast microphone is very that's very practical.
And that's that's readily available.
And that's available in many stores. I've actually heard about a store here. I don't actually know where it is.
Right.
But even if they search online, they research USB microphones.
Right.
For instance, get them a USB microphone, and get a computer, and that's your studio nowadays. That's your studio. That's all you need. There's a program called Reaper.
Okay.
That's basically it's about $15.
Okay.
$15 a person can purchase this program. There are many free programs.
Right.
And this is just for if a person just wants to do lectures. There's many free there's many free types of software that they can download nowadays just for recording lectures and things like that. But get the USB microphone and the computer, and that's your studio nowadays.
That's all you need. What about you when you record your nasheeds? Do you have to go to a big studio?
Same for me nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
And this is why many studios are losing money.
Yeah.
Also, because
So
people don't need those things anymore.
Right.
You just need a good microphone, a good sounding microphone, making sure that your space doesn't have a lot of echo.
Right.
You know, dumbing down the sound.
Right.
Maybe we can go into some of that next time or another episode.
Right.
Making sure that the sound is good quality in the room, and having a microphone, computer, press play, record. That's it.
What about editing?
That's your studio.
The software.
And the software allows you to edit and everything.
Okay.
And like you mentioned, the old reel to reels.
Yeah.
Now even many of the older artists now see how easy it is to record now, and they're taking advantage of it.
So we're wrapping up. We're going to wrap up now. You have a website. It's called Omar Projects. That's with a U. UMAR projects.com. And people can visit this website and get some nasheeds and other things. I'm sure you're going to start with nasheeds most likely.
Yes.
And I encourage everyone to visit the brother's website, Brother Omar Du Bois, and support him in his efforts. And with that being said, make sure that you visit Tech Talk's page at huda.tv/Tech Talk. And if you have any comments or questions, send it to techtalk@huda.tv. We would like to thank our guest, our very special guest, Omar Du Bois, and he took his time out to come and chat with us. So, inshallah, we'll have him on another show discussing maybe another topic related to this. We hope you enjoyed it. And with that being said, I say to you, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.